Hello, everyone. It's so good to be with you again. I want to share with you some just powerful, powerful truth today about the key that God gives us to please Him. Listen, Hebrews 11:6 says that God gives us the only way that any of us can ever truly please Him. Listen what it says. It says, but without faith, it is impossible to please Him. For he who comes to God must, listen to this, must believe that He is and that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. He says, first you have to believe in my existence, but second, you have to believe something about my character and my nature, that I am one who will reward those who diligently seek me. Listen in Hebrew what the word seek means. It's darash. It means to tread or frequent diligently. You know, in the beginning of our country, there were people that would go see their neighbors, obviously, and when they would go to their neighbor's house, they would have paths going out into the wilderness or wherever, where they would get alone with the Lord. And if they saw that path growing over, they would say, I see grass is growing under your feet, because they weren't regularly and diligently going and seeking the Lord. They understood that the importance of this diligence, this seeking God regularly and daily. Listen carefully. Daniel, you remember when he heard the proclamation that he wasn't supposed to worship any other person but the king, it says he opened his window after the fact, and he prayed 3 times a day, as was his practice. Daniel continued to seek the Lord just like he had been doing before this proclamation was made. It also means constantly, the word seek, constantly, to search or pursue continually. Do you do that? Do you continually and constantly seek God? It also means properly. Bakwash is another meaning in the original Hebrew. Listen to this. It says to search out in worship or in prayer. There are proper ways to seek God, and there are improper ways. If you could imagine just making a phone call, and if you press the wrong number, you're going to make the wrong connection. You're not going to get on the other end of the line who you're looking for. And it's those ways. It says you have to seek Him in spirit and in truth. You must truly worship Him the way that He is asking us to worship Him. And one way that He's asking is just consistently, faithfully. Next, it is indefinitely. God is desiring that we would indefinitely seek Him. God is infinite, and there is always more to explore and enjoy with Him. Listen, I want to share a story out of 2 Chronicles 15. There's a king, his name is Asa, and he has such incredible reform. I want to just share part of this chapter with you. It says, the Spirit of God came to this prophet, and this prophet came to Asa, and he says this, he went out to meet Asa and said to him, listen to me, Asa. The Lord is with you when you are with Him. If you seek Him, He will be found by you. But if you forsake Him, He will forsake you. For a long time, it says, Israel was without the true God, without a priest to teach, and without the law. But in their distress, they turned to the Lord, the God of Israel, and sought Him, and He was found by them. In those days, it was not safe, it said, to travel about, for all the inhabitants of the land were in great turmoil. It kind of reminds me where our nation is at right now. It says one nation was being crushed by another, and one city by another, because God was troubling them with every kind of distress. But as for you, he says, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded. This is an Old Testament prophet speaking to a king and saying, listen, He will reward you if you won't get weary. It reminds me of the New Testament promise. He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. God says, this is what I'm wanting you to believe about me, that I want to reward you. And if you will diligently seek me, then I will reward you. And the only way you're going to ever please me is to believe this so fundamentally that it changes your entire life, and you continually and desperately and faithfully seek me. So it says, when Asa heard those words of the prophecy, he took courage. He believed them. He removed the detestable idols from the whole land. He repaired the altar of the Lord. Then he assembled all the people, and it says, they sacrificed to the Lord. Listen to this, 700 head of cattle and 7,000 sheep and goats. It would be like us offering some of our time, our talents, our resources to truly seek the Lord. It says they entered into a covenant to seek the Lord with all their heart and soul. This is a serious deal. They're not just, willy-nilly making this little decision. They are saying we are entering a covenant. Here's what the covenant is: to set our hearts to seek him with every fiber of our being. We are going to pursue him so that we can find him. It says all who would not seek the Lord were to be put to death. Can you imagine entering into a covenant like this? The group of all of the people of God saying, listen, we're tired of playing games. We're going to seek God wholeheartedly to the point, if we're not seeking him, then you can put me to death. It's absolutely unthinkable, but this is the level that they rise to say, we are serious about seeking God. It says they took an oath to the Lord with loud acclamation. They did it wholeheartedly, with shouting and with trumpets. There's celebration going on around this consecration they're going through. It says all Judah rejoiced. This wasn't something they did begrudgingly, about the oath because they had sworn it wholeheartedly. Listen to the results. It says they sought God eagerly, and he was found by them. So the Lord gave them rest on every side. Now, it is unbelievable what these people did as they enter this covenant. They make these oaths with God wholeheartedly. They get together and they say, we're all going to do this, every single one of us. And they passionately make this covenant with the living God. And it says God actually heard them making this oath and rewarded them with rest on every side. It says that Asa, he even deposed of his grandmother from her position as queen mother because she had made a repulsive image for the worship of Asherah. Asa cut it down. It says he broke it up and burned it in the Kidron Valley. It's just so different than today. There's for many, many years, for probably well over a generation now, we've had seeker-friendly churches and things like this. But when people are really seeking God, the way that I see God rewarding them, it is a wholehearted adventure. They're not walking into a church looking for things that will tickle their ears, what they already want to hear. They're looking, how do I truly get right with this pure, righteous God? How can I do this in a way that will really transform my life and all that God desires for me, all the people that he desires for me to affect, that I can truly affect them with the life that he gives me as I come in proper relationship with him. And so much for our kind of seeker-friendly churches. If they're not really seeking the Lord, I don't think they're successful. Listen carefully. God is desiring that we would seek him completely, wholeheartedly, and God will step in for that person. Listen to their steps again. They entered into a covenant to seek the Lord with all their hearts. They said, here's what we are going to do. I just wonder if you've ever made that covenant. I'm tired of playing games. I am going to seek the Lord with every ounce of strength that I have. I'm going to pursue him like he is the most valuable thing on this planet and beyond, because he is. It says they took an oath. This is terrifying. They took an oath to the Lord with loud acclamations, with shouting and with trumpets and horns. There's celebration going on. They did it joyfully. And it just reminds me, it says God loves a cheerful giver. They didn't begrudgingly go and do this and say, oh, woe is me, I have to do this. They were excited and celebrating. It says all Judah rejoiced about the oath because they had sworn it wholeheartedly. They sought God eagerly, and he was found by them. So the Lord gave them rest on every side. Are you just running? Are you like a duck that tries to look like it's very calm, but if you could see under the water, you're just paddling for all you're worth. You're terrified by the events around you. You don't truly have the rest and the peace of God that comes from truly finding Him. That's what God desires for you. But He desires that you would wholeheartedly seek Him so you don't find your rest. One incredible person in the past prayed, Lord, let me find no rest until I find my rest in you. I remember praying that prayer. It's a terrifying thing to do if you're not wholeheartedly seeking Him. But that's what a great person in many years past, I can't remember who it was, but said that prayer. Lord, don't let me find any peace until I find my rest and my peace in you. Listen to 2 Chronicles 7:14. I know it's a very famous verse, but listen to this. It says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, here's the third step, and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, will forgive their sins, and will heal their land. I will hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. So 4 steps to being heard and cleansed and healed are these. It is first, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God. He says, pray. Pray fervently. Truly seek me and turn from your sin. It's just example of repentance, turning from your sin, turning to God. And He says, I will heal you, cleanse you, if you will do that. 1 Chronicles 22:9 talks of David talking to the leaders about helping Solomon. He says, now set your heart and your soul to seek the Lord your God. Arise, therefore, and build the sanctuary of the Lord God, so that you may bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord and the holy vessels of God into the house that is to be built for the name of the Lord. Listen to me. In our day, God is wanting to build His true church, His body. It is the temple of the Holy Spirit. We must be those vessels for His Spirit to dwell in. But in order for that to happen, we must set our hearts to seek Him wholeheartedly so that God can purify His vessel and fill His vessel and reside here so that the very power and the presence of God is working through our lives. 1 Chronicles 28:9 says, David, he's giving directions to his own son at this point. And it says, as for you, my son, Solomon, know the God of your father and serve Him with a whole heart and a willing mind. For the Lord searches all hearts and understands every intent of the thoughts. If you seek Him, listen to David, a man who's so hungry for God that he says, as a deer pants for the water brook, so my soul longs for you. He's speaking to his beloved son. He says, listen, if you seek Him, He will let you find Him. That's an incredible phrase. He will allow you. He will let you actually find Him. He says, but if you forsake Him, He will reject you forever. He says, it's up to you, Solomon. The power lies in your own hands. If you will seek Him, then you will find Him. So many love to claim the Old Testament promise to His people that are in exile. This is Jeremiah 29:11 through 14. Everybody loves to quote Jeremiah 29:11. He says, for I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a hope and a future. Then you will call upon me. Listen why. He says, then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord. And I will restore your fortunes and will gather you from the nations and from all the places where I have driven you, declares the Lord. And I will bring you back to the place from where I sent you into exile. We so many times seek the wrong things. But God says, listen, this promise of me bringing you back and planning a great future for you is so that you will seek me wholeheartedly and I can restore the kingdom that I once gave you. I think it's a picture of us losing our love and our passion for God and losing this kingdom being taken to other lovers in a sense and being drawn away by other idols. And God says, listen, I'm going to draw you back. I'm longing to bring you back to my heart, but you must seek me. You must seek for me wholeheartedly. Our hearts can be so drawn away by so many different things. Listen to this. This is Luke 12, 29 through 31. He says, and do not seek, or another version says, or set your heart on. Do not seek or set your heart on what you will eat or what you will drink. Do not keep worrying, he says. For all these things, the nations, the pagans, another version says, of the world eagerly seek. They pursue these things. They run after all these things. But your Father knows that you need them. He says, but seek his kingdom, and these things will be added to you. I love what Matthew 6:33 says. He says, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. His kingdom, his righteousness. He says, of all the things that you're seeking and desiring, all the things that you would want, he says, make sure that the first and foremost thing that you're pursuing is him, his kingdom, his righteousness, being in right relationship with him and what he desires to happen on this planet. He says, and all these things, all these other things you're worrying about will be added to you. If there is one promise in the Bible I feel like God has fulfilled in my life thousands of times, it is that promise. So many times God has haunted me with that command and promise. He says, Steve, keep me first. Keep my righteousness, my kingdom number one in your life, and I will take care of everything else. And I have seen it thousands of times come true in my life as he brings me back to center, as he brings me back to due north, as he brings me back to the most important things, putting those large rocks in first, saying, God, I'm going to first and foremost seek you with everything. And then he fulfills his promises. Listen to Matthew 7, 7 and 8. He says, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. He's not just sending us this endless seeking that is to defraud us. He wants to give you and me himself. He tells Abraham, I will be your very great reward. And he gave himself in covenant to Abraham. That's what he did. As Lot was pursuing the finer things in life, and he looks to, Sodom and Gomorrah and thinking, wow, this is going to be so great. But Abram just steps back and says, you go ahead. You seek those things. I'm going to seek him. I'm in covenant with the God of the universe. I don't have to run after all those things. And God pulls him to the side and quietly whispers in his ear, and he just says, look east, look west, look south, look north, look everything that you can see with your eyes, I'm giving to you. And not only those things, but I'm giving you myself. So he says, seek and you will find, knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. But listen to verse 7 again. This is in the New Living Translation, and I believe it is exactly the way that it should be translated. Looking at the verbs, it says, keep on asking. Keep on asking. The tense of the verb is just, this isn't something you do once. God, can I once? And that's it. You continually ask. You keep coming to him, knowing that his character is one that if you continue to pursue him with belief that he's going to reward you for your diligent belief that he is one who rewards those who diligently seek him. He says, keep on asking and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking, and the door will be opened to you. Some of you may have sought him in the past, but have stopped seeking. You've got discouraged, and you're just kind of going along for the ride. You're just being swept around by the culture, and you're not pursuing him wholeheartedly. You know, the rest of Asa's story is very, very sad because in 2 Chronicles 16, verse 12, it says this, in the 39th year of his reign, he had such an incredible reign. He had sought God and God had rewarded him and given him rest for the people of Israel. It was just so incredible. But it says, Asa got this disease in his feet and it was very, very severe. Yet it says, even in his disease, he did not seek the Lord, but the physicians. Listen to me. I believe you can be seeking God's healing and use people that he has blessed with great abilities. But it says here that something in the foundation of Asa's life had shifted. He stopped seeking the Lord and started just seeking his help through man. And so he went to the doctors, but he didn't go to the great physician. He never went to God and said, God, I need your healing, whether you work through the doctors or however you work. But he wasn't seeking God anymore. And he died from this terrible illness. It was so sad. Let me tell you something. God will honor your even just mere preparation to seek him. If you'll just say, God, I'm going to start preparing my heart to make a shift. I'm going to put my house on a new foundation. The foundation that I'm going to be living on now is one of believing that your character is such that you will reward me if I diligently seek you. Listen to 2 Chronicles 30, 18 through 20. It is a multitude of the Israelites. They had not celebrated Passover. They had not been living for the Lord, and they are being drawn back. Listen to this. It says, they had not purified themselves, and yet they ate the Passover, otherwise than prescribed. They were not allowed to do this. It says, for Hezekiah prayed for them, saying, may the good Lord pardon everyone who prepares his heart to seek God, the Lord God of his fathers, though not according to the purification rules of the sanctuary. So the Lord, listen to this, so the Lord heard Hezekiah and healed the people. Now Asa could have prayed and very possibly been healed by God, but he shifted his focus and who he was seeking. Here in Hezekiah's story, he's bringing the hearts of the people back to God. And he says, let's partake of this Passover. But the priests had not purified themselves. The Levites, many people, they were not able to do all the purification, everything just by the way that God had prescribed in his word. And so Hezekiah says, God, we're longing to seek you. We're longing to find you. We're longing to be obedient to you. And so we're going to make preparations. And even though we haven't done everything just like you told us, please have mercy on us because we're changing our hearts. We're wanting to start seeking you. And can you imagine the lepers that weren't allowed to come and participate? People, it doesn't matter if you had a oozing sore or you were bloody or anything, you weren't allowed to be there. But God says, listen, he went out and God started healing the people even though they had not walked through the right processes because they had prepared. They were starting to prepare their heart to say, we want to start pursuing him with everything. And God says, I'm going to supernaturally heal these people so that they can come and participate in this sacrifice because their hearts are one to seek me. Listen to me. Don't miss your opportunity to seek him. I think of opportunity like a horse racing by as you're out in the desert and your tongue is starting to swell and you realize you are going to die. It is too late to start digging a well. And there's this horse racing to this body of water, but you don't have the strength to get there. Are you going to grab that horse's mane as he comes by and get a lift that will ultimately give you life? Or are you just going to miss that opportunity? God says in Isaiah 55:6, listen to me. He says, seek the Lord while. There's a time period. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call on him while he is near. Let me tell you something. God has given us this time of such incredible grace that it says, whosoever calls in the name of the Lord shall be saved. When you call on him with every fiber in your being and you're shifting your faith from yourself or your good deeds or whatever else you've got your faith in to the God of the universe and you seek him wholeheartedly, he says he will be found by you. But it's this time right now. He says, seek me while I may be found. You know, God for 120 years had Noah preaching to the people, saying, come into the ark, come into the ark. Destruction is coming. They wouldn't listen. They mocked him. Then God, in his mercy, he has Noah go into the ark for another 7 days to seal these people's fate. He waits. Is there anyone else coming? Is there anyone else coming? He gives them this number of perfection to wait. And then the doors were locked. There was no chance for anyone to be saved from that point. Can you imagine when the rain starts that they've never experienced before, and they're coming and banging on the door and screaming and yelling? But the time was up. God had given them over 100 years of people pouring out their soul, preaching to them, this righteous man, but the time was up. And let me tell you something, there's a day coming when God is going to split the eastern sky, and it says that the nations are going to mourn because it's going to be too late. The time period is going to be up. But now is our time. We can seek him and we can find him according to the promises of the one who spoke the universe into being. You can find him and I can find him when we start seeking for him diligently. What is the answer? Hosea 10:12 gives it. He says this, break up your fallow grounds. It's producing no fruit. There's nothing. You can't grow anything in this ground. He says, for it is time to seek the Lord. Now is the season. Today is the day of salvation. If you give Satan today, he will steal tomorrow. If you say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll start passionately seeking God tomorrow, tomorrow will never come, because when you get to tomorrow, it's today. And you say the same thing over and over, and your life is gone, your vapor is gone, you haven't sought him, you haven't found him, you've borne no fruit, and you're cut off. Listen to me. Break up your fallow ground. For it is time to seek the Lord until he comes to reign. It says righteousness on you. Righteousness is this right relationship with him, that you are clothed in his righteousness through being in right relationship. How do you get there? You get there by, he says, break up your hard heart. Let the water of the word just soften your hard heart. It is through waiting on him. Let me tell you something. There's been only one way I have found that the hardness of my heart has been softened, through the water of the word, as I wait on the Lord. As I take time and I wait on him. God has taken my will. He could easily just force you to do things, but that's not what he wants. He wants to work through your will and my will as we joyfully surrender it. And that only happens, I believe, as we wait on him and allow the water of his word and his promises to take root in our heart, as we allow him to just break up our fallow ground, as we humble ourselves. It's like he will bring a jackhammer and start just breaking up that hard soil that can produce nothing until it has been plowed up. So I challenge you to allow him to break up the fallow ground. I want to give you just some grand finales of just some verses in Psalms. There's so many that speak of seeking the Lord. Psalms 10:4 says, the wicked in the haughtiness of his countenance does not seek him. I have to wonder in this verse if God is not just ripping the blinders off of the lack of seeking God. And he says, the root cause of not seeking him is this pride, this haughtiness of his countenance. He doesn't think he has to participate in this seeking process of the God of the universe. It doesn't ever even enter his mind. It says all his thoughts are, there is no God. Like he doesn't even take time to stop and think how great the creator of this universe is. Psalms 119, 155 says, salvation is far from the wicked. Why? For they do not seek your statutes. When we seek the law of God, we are seeing a very description of the character and the nature of the God we are to serve. And when you see his character and nature in action with his command saying, listen, don't lie. I want you to be like me. I don't deceive other people. That wouldn't be loving. And we see, God, you're so faithful and true. This is amazing. This is awesome. then we can seek him the way that we're supposed to see him because we see his beauty. It's absolutely incredible. Psalms 14:2, listen to this. The Lord has looked down from heaven upon the sons of men to see if there are any who understand, who seek after God. God is saying, is there anyone that understands my greatness, my value, the significance of me in a life, that the very Spirit of God must come into you to produce eternal life, that you can truly know me and be intimate with me, but you have to seek for me. Psalms 27:8 says, when you said, seek my face, my heart said to you. This is God calling to us, his bride, saying, seek me. Seek my face, look in my eyes, admire me. Walk around me like that Jewish bride would walk around her husband 7 times as this process, just saying, man, he's a hunk. Man, I want to devote my whole life to him. Man, I want to spend every second with this guy. My whole life is wrapped around him. All of my dreams, all of my goals, everything is all about him. And God says, seek my face. And it says, my heart says to you, your face, O Lord, I will or I shall seek. I will do it passionately, and it will be the joy. I will surrender my time and anything else I can, my attention, to seek you purposefully. But first there has to be a desire. Before you will seek anything, there is a desire that has to well up within us. You know, I had to desire my wife, and I can remember multiple times that I was admiring her from afar. And man, there was desire just welling up within me. I remember on one date that I took her home and we were sitting out on her driveway and the porch light was just shining on her face. And I remember just sitting across the other side leaning against the car door on my side and just admiring her and just looking at her and just thinking, man, she's got beautiful eyes. Man, she's so beautiful. And I was just kept thinking about all the different character qualities and traits and just so many different things that I absolutely loved about her. And I could just feel this desire working up in me so much greater to wrap my entire future around this young lady. But I had to inquire of her. I had never inquired and said, will you marry me? But I had to eventually get this desire that was so high that I was willing to say no to everything else and everyone else, not just from the past, but in the present, and even the desire of those relationships in the future, and say, I'm going to separate myself from all of those joyfully so that I can inquire of you to dedicate your life back to me as my bride. So do you have that desire for him? If not, maybe you need to separate yourself out for a time and gaze at him like I did at my beautiful wife. And this desire rose up in me. And it can rise up in you as you desire so much to the point that you will literally call out to him and say, God, I want you. I need you. I long for you. But then the next thing is not just to desire him and then inquire of him, but to pursue him. I remember when I first asked my wife out, she said, maybe someday if you're lucky and I'm careless. She was telling me, listen, if you're ever going to get me, I'm so far out of your league. If you are ever going to get me, you're going to have to pursue me. You're going to have to pursue me wholeheartedly. And I had the idea, many of you guys have heard this story, but I had the idea just kind of date around. And she instantly brought it to purity and said, listen, you can date me or you can date anyone else dumb enough to go out with you, but you're not going to date me and other people. And I had to realize I had to give 100% of my devotion and purity of intention and desire for her if I was ever going to acquire her. So, you know what? I remember one night, the first time my wife looked at me and she said, Stephen, I love you. I remember my heart racing, but I had pursued her with everything that I had. Through gifts, through kind words, through letters, through pursuing her in any way that my mind can conceive of how can I win this girl's heart. God desires that we would pursue him. He has pursued you. He paid the highest dowry anyone has ever paid for a bride in the history of the world. He paid with his blood. He went to hell so you could live forever with him in heaven. So desire turns to inquiring, then pursuing, and ultimately you procure him. You get him. You actually get him. And you live happily forever after. You know, Disney is the one who stole that line. God could sue them for that because their little story of, and they lived happily ever after. They didn't come up with that storyline. That's God's storyline for his bride, those who pursue him. In that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He came and pursued us. The ball is in your court. He is drawing you. I pray right now, as I'm speaking these words to you, I pray that the Spirit of God is going out with great power and authority, and you can hear him amidst all the calls of the enemy and all the calls maybe of your own carnal heart to run after so many other things that are lies that will leave you broken and shattered. And God is calling out for you. And he's saying, come to me. I long for you to be with me. I want to spend forever with you. Listen to Psalms 119, verse 2. He says, how blessed are those who observe his testimonies, who seek him with all their heart. How blessed are those who observe his testimonies and who seek him with all their heart. I can testify in my own life that I feel so overwhelmingly blessed. I cannot keep many times it feels that just what I heard one person just describe tears as just liquid gratitude. And this isn't in my sermon, by the way, but just when you're so blessed by your relationship with him and all the blessings and you've seen his provision and you know that it came not from seeking those things, but from seeking him. And you've actually found him. You've experienced the fountain of all peace and joy and wisdom and happiness. You've found him and you know him. He's given himself to you. That's what I desire for you. Psalms 105, verse 3 says, let the hearts of those who seek the Lord rejoice. Let the heart of those who seek the Lord rejoice. He says, listen, if you make that grace-empowered decision that I'm going to wholeheartedly, without reservation, diligently, passionately, fervently seek the Lord. The moment God sees that decision in your heart, I believe all of heaven races to that decision to empower your will to seek him fervently so that he can give you himself. That's what he's longing. He wants to give you himself. And he says, when you combine desperation with expectation, he said, if you're starting to pursue me, go ahead and let rejoicing start, because you combine this desperation with expectation. Like, here's what he said, he will come to me. If I will draw near to him, he will draw near to me. Then expectation starts rising up in you, and he says, that is reason for celebration. Do you have a desperate heart? Do you have a heart of expectation for him? He says, if you do, then you can go ahead and start celebrating. Men, I'm going to remind you, listen carefully to me. May 15th to the 17th, we are going over to seek the Lord, to wait on him. And I pray that an expectancy is rising up in you like it's rising up in me. I drive on that property that I've gone over there probably almost 10 times now to seek the Lord and get alone with him. And I start to drive on that property and I get miles away and I start getting chill bumps. I start getting these goosebumps, and I start noticing my heart is starting to race because I know that he's going to meet with me in a special way because I believe his promises. He's fulfilled it to me over and over and over. And I pray that you will hear that call from God to come over, and we will lead you into a time of experiencing God, I believe, in a way you may have never experienced before, and you will never, ever be the same. I think the greatest gift that any of us men could give to our wives for Mother's Day would be allow God to make each one of us more like his precious son. He's the greatest husband ever. And God is desiring to make us men into the greatest husbands for our wives and the greatest fathers for our children. I pray that you'll come out with me and have a wonderful time with the Lord. May God richly bless you.